Hello, thank you for purchasing the Bowtie Scrunchie DIY kit. We are going to go through this today. This is what you're going to get in your box. You're going to get one long strip, two little oval-like shapes, and a elastic for you to make your scrunchie. So we're going to get started by pinning the two oval pieces together. We're going to leave an opening at the top, and you'll see why we do that afterwards, but just leave about a 2-inch opening. I made mine just a touch small so it was harder to reverse and get everything inside out afterwards, so just make it about 2 inches. So pin that up, and then we're gonna put that to the side and pin this long strip. So we're just gonna fold it over and pin all the way, leaving a 2-inch gap at either side of the strip. So once you have those two pieces sewed together, we're gonna just trim the edges, and just to make sure that there's no excess inside the scrunchie. This is a chiffon fabric, so it's a little bit lighter, so I like to do this on the chiffon. On this oval shape, definitely with different fabrics you're going to need to do this. The chiffon's not as necessary, but just to make it easier and make the points more prominent, just cut off the edges and the top to make sure that you can stick the fabric through on the inside when we flip it inside out. So once you have that all trimmed off, just flip it inside out through the little opening that you made. Just push all the fabric through. You can do this with your finger or with a pen if your hole is a little bit smaller, and you're just going to push it through all the way until the points are pointy. So once you have that all flipped inside out, you'll have one small opening on the one side of your oval shape, and you're just going to pin that together. Make sure the fabric's on the inside. It's naturally going to go towards the inside because of the seam being inside out. Then you're just going to sew the top part of that opening. We're going to put it to the side though, so we can do this strip, and we're going to flip this strip all the way inside out. Just work your way through carefully on this one. It is chiffon, so it might break a little easier than some other fabrics, but just work it through, shake it, and push it all the way inside out. So once you have that fully inside out, I just trimmed the edges so that there was no fraying and it would be easier to sew. And then since we left a couple of inches on the ends, this is where it's going to be necessary to utilize that. And we're just going to bring those two edges together and sew that straight stitch. Sew those two pieces and come back. So your oval piece is done just with a straight stitch on top, and the scrunchie piece, just pull it outwards a little bit and it'll naturally fold in, and then we can insert the elastic and we're almost done. So same with the oval piece, it'll naturally fold towards the inside. That'll be necessary after we put the elastic in. So the elastic, you should have a little bit extra, and now that way now you can measure it to your own wrist. I like to measure it a little higher than my wrist knuckle because it sits a little bit looser on my wrist. And I prefer it that way, but measure your own wrist and wherever you want it. Just remember that when you're cutting it, you're going to be sewing maybe like half an inch overlay, so you're going to be losing almost a full inch when you go to sew it together. Use a safety pin, pin it to the elastic, and feed it through your scrunchie. Hold on to it tight. Scrunch, crunch, 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 crunch. Once you get to the end, I like to make sure that my elastic is nice and flat and it's not twisted on the inside. You can kind of maneuver it around if it is, but I like to make sure that it's nice and flat, and then sew the two ends of that elastic flat over each other. Use a zigzag stitch and go over it a few times. If you're too nervous to use a zigzag stitch, you can definitely do a straight stitch. It's up to you where your comfort level is at. Just make sure that it holds really strong. You're going to be putting it in your hair, on your wrist, and moving it around a lot. So now you can bring the scrunchie kind of fabric kind of over and put it on your wrist to make sure that it does fit exactly where you want it to. Mine did, so then I was able to sew up this last little piece so the pieces will fold towards the inside, and just pin it so you know exactly where to start and stop. Line up the two seams there and it will just make for a nicer finish. So once you have that done, a lot of people like to add the bow tie on the side that there is the seam, but I like to put it on the other side since the most of the time the seam will be on the bottom, so you won't see it anyways. Put your bow tie through your scrunchie, tied up, and you have the cutest scrunchie around. Thanks for watching!